When we were getting a divorce, my ex-husband insisted on fighting me for custody of our son. Confidently, he said, "How about we ask him what he thinks?" Our son was holding his phone, and after glancing calmly at me, he asked, "Are you really planning to go through with this?" "Yes." I nodded. "All right then." He lowered his head and continued playing his game. "I'll stay with my mom, make sure she gets more of the assets. Though, I'm afraid she won't be able to support herself." Chapter 1. My ex-husband pulled our son into the study, worried. I wanted to follow, but the door slammed shut right in my face. From inside, I could hear Eric's irritated voice. "Lucas, I'm asking you again, do you really want to stay with your mom? Don't say I didn't warn you, your mom's just a housewife. Do you really think she can take care of you?" My son's nonchalant voice responded, "Dad, honestly, it doesn't really matter who I stay with. The main thing is, Aunt Luna is pregnant with my little brother. If I stay with you, I'm afraid it'll upset her." Even someone as thick-skinned as Eric must have felt a little embarrassed when our son brought up his affair. The voices inside the room grew quieter. I couldn't make out what they said after that, but I felt a wet, itchy sensation crawling up my face. When I reached up to wipe it away, the more I wiped, the more the tears came. I sat motionless on the couch, burying my face in my hands, unable to hold back the sobs. I don't know how much time passed, but eventually, the door to the study opened again. Eric walked over to me, seeing me with my head buried, crying. He seemed to feel a little guilty. He handed me a tissue and said slowly, "Lucas will stay with you." I raised my tear-streaked face. "You can have the car and the house, and I'll give you 500,000 yuan. If you agree, we can settle this tomorrow." I stared at him in a daze. To be honest, I was the one who wanted the divorce, but as for how to actually go through with it, I had no idea. "Don't give her the car," Lucas suddenly spoke up. I snapped out of it, and a bitter smile crept onto my lips. After all, they say blood is thicker than water. In the end, he still sided with his dad. My mom's driving skills aren't great. It'd be a waste if she didn't use it, and a crime if she did. Let's just take the cash instead. Your car's worth at least 700,000 or 800,000 yuan. A house and 1,000,000 yuan in cash, I think that's pretty reasonable. Eric's eyes darkened as he looked at Lucas. Lucas just shrugged. Indifferent. Eric turned his gaze away. "All right. Let's do it that way. Tomorrow at 9. Meet me at the Civil Affairs office." Chapter 2. The door closed, and with it, my heart clenched. With Eric walking away, he might never come back. We had been in love since college. Young love, so sincere and pure. I had thought we would grow old together. But somehow, we ended up here. "Mom." Lucas's voice pulled me out of my sadness. "I'm hungry. Have you made dinner?" I quickly stood up, wiping away my tears. "I'll go buy some groceries now." His voice carried a hint of frustration. "Mom, you're about to get 1,000,000 yuan. Can't we just eat out for once?" I took Lucas downstairs to the barbecue restaurant. He wrapped a piece of pork belly in lettuce and handed it to me. "Mom, it's an all-you-can-eat place. You better eat a lot to get your money's worth." "Okay." I took the wrap and put it in my mouth, but it tasted like sawdust. I couldn't swallow. I thought about all the things I'd read online about the psychological impact divorce has on children. I carefully chose my words before speaking. "Son, even though your dad and I are getting divorced, he's still your father. It's fine if I hate him, but you don't have to." "I don't hate him." He flipped the chicken wings on the grill. "And you shouldn't hate him either. Hating someone is exhausting." Sitting across from me, through the rising smoke, I could barely see his face. Chapter 3. That morning, as I sat on the edge of the bed, lost in thought, Lucas knocked on my door. "Mom, it's time. Let's go." I snapped back to reality. Why did it feel like he was more eager about our divorce than his father? I opened the door and looked at him suspiciously. "Why aren't you in school?" He gave me a complicated look. "Mom, it's July 1st, summer vacation." I had been so out of it for the past month that I completely forgot he was on break. Feeling guilty, I straightened his collar. "Sorry about that, son." He tilted his head and smiled. "If you really feel bad, how about taking me on a vacation? Let's go to the beach, do some diving, and eat seafood. He flashed a peace sign. All right. I couldn't help but smile back. It felt like some of the darkness in my heart had lifted. Luna arrived with Eric. We weren't even divorced yet, and she was already eager to take her place in our lives. Lucas greeted her cheerfully. Hey, Aunt Luna, you came out in this scorching heat? Careful, you don't want my little brother to melt in this weather. Luna glared at him, clearly upset, and turned to Eric, seeking support. Lucas quickly explained, Dad, I didn't mean anything by it. It's just that it's 40 degrees out. I'm genuinely worried about my brother. Eric looked at Luna with a serious expression and said, Wait in the car. Don't follow us inside. Chapter 4. We submitted the divorce registration application. Now, we had to go through the 1-month cooling off period. Eric drove over and called out to us. Let me give you a ride home. I was about to refuse when Lucas darted forward and opened the car door. Mom, come on, I'm boiling in this heat. I had no choice but to follow him into the car. We sat in the back seat, while Luna occupied the familiar front seat. She tugged on Eric's arm and said in a sugary voice, Honey, where should we go to celebrate later? Lucas leaned forward. Aunt Luna, how about little Jiang? My dad loves the food there. Whenever something good happened, he'd take my mom and me there. From the rearview mirror, I could see Luna's face stretch longer than a donkey's. Although it wasn't the most gracious reaction, I couldn't help but feel a bit pleased. Lucas didn't stop there. Mom, where should we go for our trip? Maybe we shouldn't go to the beach. How about Lijiang instead? People say Lijiang is the land of romance. Who knows? Maybe I'll find you a new stepdad. Eric's face darkened as well. Planning a trip? He glanced at me through the rearview mirror. Yeah, I didn't want to talk to him, so I turned my head to look out the window. It's good to take a break, he said to himself. But Lijiang isn't that interesting. Why not go to the beach, Sonia? I have a friend who owns a hotel there. Lucas leaned forward again. Sounds great. Dad, can we get a discount? With how much we look alike, your friend would recognize me right away. Eric chuckled and reached out to pat Lucas's head. You're my son, of course. It's no problem. The father and son duo were having a great time, seemingly unaware of how angry Luna's face had become, darker than the bottom of a pot. Chapter 5. In the end, Lucas and I went to Sonia. As he put it, it'd be a waste not to take advantage of a good deal. He was full of excitement and prepared a detailed 3-page travel itinerary. Not wanting to be the killjoy mom, I tried my best to keep up with his energy. At 13 or 14, boys are full of energy. During the day, I accompanied him for skydiving, surfing, and diving. At night, we explored the night markets and caught small crabs on the beach. By the end of the day, I felt like my bones were going to fall apart. The moment I hit the bed, I fell asleep, not even having time to feel the sadness of my divorce. When we returned from Sonia, I was hoping to finally get some rest. But Lucas had complaints about my cooking. Mom, your cooking isn't bad, but it's lacking variety. I shot him a sidelong glance. You've been eating my cooking for years, and now you're starting to get picky? He scratched his head and grinned. It's not that I'm picky, just a bit tired of the same dishes. If you spice things up, I'm sure I'll grow to be 6 feet 2 inches in no time. Get lost. I patted his face and smiled. After all these days, I've finally figured it out. This kid has been trying to keep me busy in every possible way, just so I don't have time to feel sad. Maybe my taste in husbands wasn't great, but the child I raised is truly a treasure. What more could I be sad about? Chapter 6. I decided to look for a job, even though Eric agreed to give me 1,000,000 yuan and promised to send child support on time every month. 1,000,000 yuan doesn't go very far when you start spending it. Just Lucas's annual tutoring fees cost nearly 200,000 yuan, not to mention the daily expenses. If I just sit back and spend money, it won't take long before the money runs out. After being a housewife for over 10 years, I've practically lost all my work skills. I thought I should find something easy and low stress to start with, then switch to something better after I gained some experience. I mentioned my plan to Lucas. After all, if I go to work, I won't have as much time to take care of him. He thought for a moment and said, "If you want to work. Of course. I support that. But looking for a job is a lot like looking for a partner, it requires careful planning." Hearing him speak like a little adult made me laugh out loud, and I couldn't resist teasing him. "Have you ever had a partner? How would you know they're the same?" He confidently replied, "Well, think about it. If you settle for just any job at first, and then later you find a better one, would you quit, or stick it out?" I thought about it, and he had a point. If I take just any job, it would be a hassle to take time off and interview for a better one later. Lucas continued with his advice. "There's no need to rush finding a job, but there is something more urgent." "What is it?" I asked him. "Stop my tutoring classes." "No way." I firmly rejected him. "Mom," he groaned, "for subjects a day, I'm your son, not a pack mule for the production team." Chapter 7. After a friendly negotiation, we decided to cancel the Chinese and English tutoring sessions. For now, we kept math and physics. If he makes progress, we'll reconsider the rest. Long live Mom. Lucas was so happy he ran 2 circles around me and even volunteered to finish an English workbook. Our lives were slowly returning to normal. One day, I was placing an order using a link sent by my friend Alice. Lucas came over, looked at it for a while, and suddenly asked me, "Does Aunt Alice make money doing this?" "It's okay," I said absent-mindedly as I completed the payment. He tugged at my hand, his bright eyes looking up at me. "Mom, I think this would be a good fit for you." My heart skipped a beat. Alice had always had an eye for trends, and a few years ago, she became very successful in e-commerce. This time, she had switched to a newly launched social group buying platform. The user base was still small, but the shopping process was convenient, and the promotion channels were flexible. The business seemed promising. The best part was the one-click resale feature, which meant I didn't have to worry about sourcing products, perfect for a beginner like me. "All right, I'll go talk to your Aunt Alice and get some advice. If there's anything I gained from over a decade of being a housewife, it's the skill of shopping. I tend to be picky when I shop. I don't just look at the price. I also care a lot about quality. I often compare several options before making a decision. Because of that, friends always come to me for recommendations when they need to buy something." As Lucas said, running this kind of platform really suits me. With Alice's help, I quickly set up my shop. I'm very strict about the quality of the products I resell. I have to personally test them and ensure they're good before I sell them. So, while I didn't make much money at first, I quickly gained a loyal customer base. Before I knew it, almost a month had passed. Then Eric suddenly came to see me. He said he wanted to withdraw the divorce application. Chapter 8. I was stunned for a long time. Even though I was the one who asked for the divorce, he'd likely had the idea in his mind for a while. Otherwise, why would he have constantly found faults with me and grown so distant? And besides, Luna's belly was getting bigger by the day. She was probably pushing him hard. His sudden change of heart left me caught off guard. "Why?" I asked. Eric's gaze flickered, and after a long pause, he spoke slowly. I don't want to lose our family." I felt a strange sense of disorientation. In the early years of his business, Eric often traveled for work. Before every trip, he would hug me and kiss our son's little face. "Sweetheart, I don't want to leave you both. As soon as I'm done, I'll come straight home." When did it all change? When did he stop wanting to come home? Seeing that I was wavering, he sat down beside me and grabbed my hand. "Please, let's stop this, okay? Do you really want our son to grow up without a father?" I pulled my hand out of his and looked at him with a hint of sarcasm in my eyes. "Eric, you're the one who made the mistake, and now you want to avoid paying the price. How does that make any sense?" Chapter 9. When something strange happens, there's usually a reason behind it. I asked a friend to look into Eric's situation. What I found out shocked me. Eric runs a trading company. Basically, they make money by buying and selling goods using their network to take advantage of price differences. 2 weeks ago, Luna was in charge of purchasing a batch of goods, but it turned out to be counterfeit. Their supplier ran off. Meanwhile, their clients refused to accept the goods and demanded full compensation for their losses. I heard that Eric had emptied all his savings just to barely cover that financial hole. Now, forget about $1,000,000 yuan, he probably couldn't even scrape together 10,000. His attempt to reconcile with me wasn't just about avoiding paying the million. It was likely he had his eyes on this apartment as well. We live in a school district apartment, and with the current market prices, it's worth at least 5 to 6 million yuan. When we agreed to the divorce terms, I'm not sure what Lucas said to him. Maybe he still felt a tiny shred of guilt toward us, or maybe his business was booming at the time, and he didn't care much about the money. He signed the divorce agreement without hesitation, but now that he's down and out, these assets have become his lifeline. He wants to grab them all for himself, but the mess made by his mistress, and now he wants to take advantage of his ex-wife? It won't be that easy. Chapter 10. The cooling-off period had passed, and we were supposed to finalize the divorce and get our certificates, but Eric had been avoiding me, likely trying to drag things out and prevent the process from moving forward. I was feeling incredibly frustrated when I suddenly received a package. Inside was a USB drive with evidence of Eric's affair. There were videos of him and Luna cuddling as they walked into a hotel, screenshots of their explicit conversations, and even records of money transfers with messages like 520 yuan and 1,314 yuan, numbers symbolizing I love you and forever. I snapped a picture of the evidence and sent it to Eric. If we can't settle this through a divorce agreement, I'll file a lawsuit. A while later, Eric called. Are you really this heartless? We've been together for more than 10 years. Are you really going to throw it all away? It was raining heavily that day. When the call came, I was standing at the crossroads just outside my building. The wind howled from all directions. I spoke softly. Eric, you were the one who threw it away first. He didn't respond. In the end, Eric showed up to finalize the divorce. That day, he came alone. Luna wasn't with him. He looked utterly exhausted. I heard that his company had run out of cash flow and was nearly at a standstill, but suppliers still needed to be paid, and employees' wages couldn't be delayed. He must have been completely overwhelmed during this time. Chapter 11. As we parted ways, he grabbed my arm. Olivia, let's have a meal together. I was about to refuse when he hurriedly added, even if we're separating, we can still be friends, right? Can't we at least share a meal? I knew him too well. Lowering himself like this wasn't because he couldn't let go of the past. He probably had something to say. I nodded. We found a random restaurant near the civil affairs office. After sitting down, he kept spinning the glass in his hand, looking like he had something on his mind but didn't know how to say it. Not wanting to waste time, I decided to speak first. Eric, just say what you need to. He hesitated for a moment before cautiously saying, about the 1 million yuan I promised you. Could I delay it for a while? I swear I won't back out of my promise. It's just that. All right. I cut him off. Olivia! He reached out, trying to take my hand. I calmly pulled it back. I agreed to delay the payment for a year, but with a 10% interest based on market rates. Also, I want to purchase goods from your company at the special distributor rate. Don't worry, I'll pay on time. Alice had been complaining about how hard it was to find good suppliers. Either the prices were too high or the quality wasn't good enough. Lucas, ever the sharp one, overheard and chimed in. Aunt Alice, I know where you can find exactly what you need. It was like the perfect opportunity landed right in front of me. I'd been wondering how to bring this up to Eric, but now he'd opened the door himself. After all, becoming a special distributor for his company required purchasing hundreds of thousands of yuan in goods. Eric seemed surprised by my condition. He was stunned for a moment before forcing a bitter smile and saying, "You're not the same as before. You used to." Eric. I interrupted him again. I knew what he wanted to say. The old me was entirely focused on him and our child. I gave up a good career just to dedicate myself to the family. Only young people get caught up in love. Middle-aged women like me, who've been discarded, only care about weighing the pros and cons. I raised my glass and clinked it against his. Boss Eric, here's to a successful partnership. Chapter 12. With a steady supply of products, I quickly transitioned from reselling to running my own group buying campaigns. On one hand, the profit margins were higher. On the other hand, I could develop my own team of resellers, expanding my sales channels and reach. Since the platform was relatively new, it offered plenty of support and reward programs. I registered a company and hired professional staff for operations, marketing, and customer service. Although life was busy, it was incredibly fulfilling. However, Eric wasn't having such a great time lately. A while ago, the supplier who sold him counterfeit goods was caught. The supplier confessed that Luna knew from the beginning that the goods were fake, but she kept it hidden after receiving a 20% kickback from the supplier. When Eric found out, he was furious and slapped Luna in front of everyone. Unexpectedly, Luna lost her balance, and her stomach hit the edge of the table. This led to a placental abruption. Not only did Luna suffer, but the baby was also stillborn. I heard that Luna's family had been confronting Eric at his company every day, demanding answers. He was so scared that he didn't even dare go to the office. When Alice told me about it, her voice was full of schadenfreude. See, I told you, karma always comes for those who deserve it. I was reviewing this month's financial report and responded calmly. As long as it doesn't affect our business, I'm fine with it. Chapter 13. I thought that, with the love between Eric and me long gone, we could at least maintain a peaceful business relationship, but he seemed to have other ideas. Previously, I was in touch with a client manager from his company. Recently, though, Eric had started contacting me personally, using maintaining client relationships as an excuse. He frequently tried to win my favor. He even sent flowers to my house on Valentine's Day. It was during winter break. Lucas received the flowers and looked at me with a strange expression. Mom, are you seeing someone? As I walked through the living room, I pulled the card out from the flowers. The flowers are endless. The moon is eternal, and our hearts beat as one. This was the same phrase Eric had written on the card the first time he ever sent me flowers. But those flowers had already withered, and the clouds had long drifted away. Things had changed. I tossed the flowers and the card into the trash. Lucas stood silently for a while before speaking up. Mom, does Dad want to get back together with you? I thought it was time to have a serious talk with him. I took his hand and sat down on the couch. Son, you might think I'm being selfish, but there's no way your dad and I can go back to how things were. He squeezed my hand and smiled at me. I'm glad you feel that way. Always remember, you are yourself first, and my mom second. Nothing is more important than your own happiness. I covered my mouth, fighting back tears. Chapter 14. With my son's support, I decided to take the opportunity to have a clear conversation with Eric. I invited him to meet at a restaurant near my house. As I was leaving, Lucas insisted on coming with me, unable to refuse. I brought him along. It was the first time I had initiated contact with Eric since the divorce, and he seemed to have made an effort with his appearance. He was wearing the shirt and shoes I had bought him, holding a bouquet of roses. When we arrived, he eagerly rushed forward. Olivia, Lucas, you're here. Lucas glanced at him and teased. Wow, Dad, you don't look too good these days. When I'm out with Mom, people mistake her for my sister, but if I went out with you, they'd probably think you're my grandpa. Eric awkwardly smiled. Your mom does look younger and younger. Lucas nodded sagely and said, that's why self-discipline is so important. If you can't even control yourself, you'll end up regretting it. Right, Dad? Eric couldn't even force a smile. Lucas ordered a few dishes that we both liked, then sat next to me and pulled out his phone. I gave him a stern look, and he quickly put his phone away. He chuckled. I'm not playing games, just checking the messages from my teacher. Only one game. Okay, Mom, you're the best. Seeing the interaction between me and Lucas, Eric's eyes reddened a bit. He wiped away a tear and began piling food onto our plates. It's been so long since we've all sat down like this for a meal. I put down my chopsticks and sighed. Eric, Chapter 15. Suddenly, a figure rushed toward us. They grabbed the soup and threw it at me. Lucas quickly stepped in front of me, and the scalding hot soup splashed onto his chest and arms. The exposed skin turned red almost immediately. Luna screamed hysterically. Olivia, can't you have some decency? Do you enjoy seducing other people's men? Does it hurt? Are you burned? I ignored Luna and didn't care about the stares from the other diners. Panicked, I examined Lucas's body. Mom, I'm fine, Lucas quickly reassured me. Fortunately, the soup had been sitting for a while, and although his skin was red and swollen, it wasn't serious. I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Eric had already pulled Luna away. Luna, are you crazy? It's over between us. I've already given your parents compensation. What more do you want? Luna's face grew even more twisted. What's the point of compensation? My child is gone, and yet you all get to live happily ever after? Luna screamed. I was about to turn around to retort when I saw a flash of silver in her hand. Instinctively, I stepped in front of Lucas. A wave of pain surged through me. Through the haze, I vaguely saw Lucas lift his foot and kick Luna away. As my consciousness began to fade, a random thought flickered through my mind. All those years of taekwondo lessons, totally worth the money. Way more valuable than the tutoring. Chapter 16. I don't know how long I slept. In a foggy state, I heard Lucas mumbling beside me. If your son didn't have these skills, you shouldn't have tried to be a hero, all right? I've got a ton of homework, and now I have to take care of you in the hospital. So, tell me, how are you going to make it up to me? At the very least, you have to let me play on my phone for 3 days straight. The phrase play on my phone must have triggered my sensitive nerves. I shot up in bed, hands on my hips, shouting angrily, Lucas! Try it if you dare, let's see how bold you've gotten. He stood in front of me, grinning like a sly little fox. The nurse walked in with a tray. Oh, you're awake. Bed 24? You really need to stop overdoing it with dieting, your blood sugar is ridiculously low. Huh? What diet? What low blood sugar? I avoided Lucas's gaze, feeling guilty. He looked at me with an amused smirk. If your blood sugar hadn't been so low, how could she knock you out with a blunt fork? I held on to the last shred of my dignity. That was a fit of anger. Kid, you wouldn't understand. Chapter 17. As the saying goes, a wise person avoids dangerous situations. After what happened, I didn't dare have any further entanglements with Eric. The 1-year period was almost up anyway. I had my lawyer send him a payment reminder letter. I wasn't worried he wouldn't pay, after all. He owed me far more than the 1 million, including unpaid invoices for goods. The money was transferred quickly. I also had my colleague draft a formal notice that we wouldn't be renewing our contract, and we reconciled the accounts and stock. Thanks to our strong reputation and excellent service, and having caught the platform's early growth, my business was thriving. Many suppliers, even manufacturers, were contacting me directly, eager to provide products. Without Eric's supply, my business wasn't affected in the slightest. In fact, losing me as a major client would make his situation even more difficult. He called me countless times, annoyed. I simply blocked him. When he tried to show up at my door, I was already on vacation, spending the last few days of the holiday traveling with my son in Lijiang. Just as I was about to board the plane, I received a call from Luna. Before she could start yelling, I spoke first. Luna, you and I were never competitors. Take a moment to think, how did you end up like this? Who is truly responsible? There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then, I heard the sound of her hanging up. Their story might go on for a long time, but what does that have to do with me? I only hope they stay together forever, locked in their misery. Chapter 18. The new school term started, and I attended a parent-teacher meeting for Lucas. The teacher announced the results of the previous term's final exams. Lucas's grades were typically average. Out of 1,000 students in his grade, he usually ranked between 300th and 400th. But this time, I was completely surprised. He had made it into the top 200 of his grade, especially in Chinese. The subject where we had stopped his tutoring, he ranked 3rd in his class. The homeroom teacher told me, this child has great potential. If he keeps pushing himself, he'll have no problem getting into the main campus for high school. I was so excited that I shook the teacher's hand repeatedly, thanking her. As I left the school, I still felt like I was floating. Lucas gave me a disdainful look. Mom, can't you calm down? If I make it into the top 100 next time, are you going to faint from joy? I chuckled. Well, it'd be worth it if I did. You see, I don't expect much for myself in this life. I just want you to have a bright future, to live a happy and fulfilled life." He stopped in front of me, disapprovingly shaking his head. "Mom, your life is still long ahead of you. I want to make you proud, but I don't want to be your only source of pride." I looked up at him. His face was clear, his posture tall and confident. My little boy had grown up. I couldn't help but feel a sense of relief. "Son, your mom is going to start living an amazing life of her own." 2. Extra chapter. Lucas' story. Chapter 1. In my previous life, my parents divorced. To ease my mother's burden, I chose to live with my father. He had a new wife and a new son. I was like an extra, living in someone else's shell, surviving by drawing on whatever little scraps of attention I could get. They didn't mistreat me, but watching them live happily as a family, I felt like an outsider, just a bystander. My father would say, "If you don't behave, go back to your mom. Let's see if she can afford to raise you." Aunt Luna would say, "I provide for you. So what's the problem with asking you to do a few things?" Even my little brother, who had just learned to talk, would say in his baby voice, "You're not my brother. You're an outsider." I used to sneak back to see my mom. She worked at a convenience store. Her once straight back had hunched over, and the clarity in her eyes had dimmed. Once, I saw her talking to a stray cat outside her building, calling it by my name. "Lucas, you haven't been home in so long. Mommy misses you." Later, while trying to retrieve a kite stuck in a tree for my little brother, I fell. I hit the back of my head, and that was it for me. At my funeral, everyone consoled my father. "Eric, be strong. You lost one child, but you still have the little one." Only my mother sat silently in the corner. I wanted to hug her, but I could only pass through her body. She had become so thin that even the wind on the rooftop easily blew her off. As she fell, she said gently, "Don't be afraid, son. Mommy's coming to be with you." Chapter 2. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the year they divorced. My mother was still lost in the illusion of happiness, even though my father was already cold toward her. Even though his excuses were full of holes, she still foolishly told me, "Son, don't bother your dad. He works so hard to support us." I secretly rolled my eyes. My mom, with her love-struck brain, would definitely be roasted on social media if she posted about her situation. I had been given a second chance at life. I couldn't help her win back my father's heart, but I could help her get back his money. I started collecting evidence of my father's affair. Honestly, it wasn't even difficult. My father was so brazen that he hadn't even bothered to delete any of his indecent chat records. I used the excuse of needing his phone to look up some information and easily got plenty of evidence. Chapter 3. The day had come to decide who would get custody of me. My father was confident, certain that I would choose him. After all, my mother was just a housewife, without financial security. Family affection is like sand, no wind needed. It falls apart with just a few steps. But I just glanced at him and calmly said, "I'm going to live with my mom. Give her more of the assets, or I'm afraid she won't be able to support me." In the study, my father still tried to threaten me. "Your mom said that if you choose her, she'll walk away with nothing." I sighed and opened the video I had downloaded from his chat app, the one of him and Luna having their little fun. "Dad, you're about to have your own child. Why not stop fighting with my mom? She only has me." To be honest, I don't completely hate him, but love is stronger. It's enough to keep me from getting trapped in petty revenge. Instead, I can look forward to new beginnings. Chapter 4. My mom is actually a very capable woman. She was just blinded by family and love. In my past life, Aunt Alice invited her several times to start a business together, but she was always too consumed by the pain of the divorce and losing me to agree. This time, I casually brought it up, and she agreed right away, and she did even better than I expected. She became more confident and optimistic with each passing day. I like this version of my mom much more than before. She's no longer just a wife and a mother. She's an independent woman, and she's really doing great.